Right, it's Misha Brian Shorsha, Macéan na Nara, Rhys Suad Navide, Brian George McHenry, the cultured monarch of poets. It sounds a very big name in English, but in Irish it's a very beautiful name. Suad or Sídeocht is a word for culture, and Fide is a word for philosophy or poets. And what struck me when I saw this word first and heard it is how much similarly it sounds to Ved, the Vedic language of India, the Vedic knowledge of India, Navaid in Ireland. And I suppose what I want to talk about today is poetry, the importance of poetry, the quantum effects of poetry. And you know, the poets have become lost to Ireland, they've become lost in artistic endeavours, and they're not getting out into the street. I'm not talking about going into the street itself, but they're not getting out, they're locking themselves away in these centres of excellence. They're all in receipt of arts grants, so they're afraid to upset the apple cart. Now, before we start, as you know, at this stage, I'm very committed to peace. And I want to read a poem from my first book of poetry. There it is here, Fachin na Gaulan, Folding the Branches. And this is my second book of poetry, Ceolc, How Bad. And I finished my seventh book of poetry yesterday. And you know what? I cannot get funding for one piece of poetry. I cannot get funding for our university, which we are launching on the 1st of May down off Dunmorehead in County Kerry. And literally, I'm on the breadline. I don't mind saying that because it's the honest truth. And I need someone out there. I don't want to organise some funding for me. I won't do it myself because then it becomes too, I don't know what. Well, I won't do it yet. But anyway, here's a poem that I thought was very relevant. It was written in or about 2002 or in the early 2000s anyway. And it is called The Last Few Years. And it resonated with me immediately, considering what's going on in the Ukraine, with Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. You know, they're surrounding the former Soviet Union, and of course Russia isn't happy. The last few years. And now it is time to write on the wrongs you done by might. How many men in meetings den continue with the fight and stay to keep the channels clear for flowing muskets, bombs and fear? Not now, you think, do I refer to yesterday, tomorrow, never. For all at once do we recite that peace can use the might of right to further all political aims and so ensure commercial gains. But let us say what must be said, there is no justice for the dead. And when you men in prissy suits roll out the men in blackened boots and claim that peace is on the way because they wear a blue beret, this decade last of history tells of stories filled with funeral bells. How many times at night at 6 have we endured a daily fix of war and famine, deathly stare, all the horrors of despair. And I'll get another one out of here. Let's see what we open up at. This is a poem which I wrote and dedicated to Mary McAleese, who was the Irish president some years ago. And I didn't think, 10 years ago. at the time when the international mouse fraudsters invaded the Duchess of Ireland, and she did not stand up for the Duchess. That is the role of the President. Forget about the whole Constitution. Think of Article 1 of the Irish Constitution and stand up for that. And she did not do it. It is called the style of life. Too much style and not enough substance. That is modern life. Flimsy, floozy, woozy, sitting in a bath. Fooled by friendliness. Many fall foul of the cowl, but she knows naught. Naught of the reality hidden in her cloister, while reality falls and a new reality emerges. Merges knowledge for real traditions to avert sedition, lives told by traitors. Lies told by traitors. Accused the president of being a traitor at that time. And we'll see how Micheál O'Higgins pans out. Now, there's not much more I can say, except to say that I have so many projects on the go at this stage. I met a man outside on Carnog yesterday, and we spoke for a while, and he read one of my poems from this, my second book of poetry. As I said, I'm looking at it here. Yeah, there we are, Ceolc. That is available from litríocht.com. So if any of you out there want to get a copy, they might send me a few bob from the proceeds. I must get on to them about that. But I will be setting up an educational charity which has so many rules and regulations, but I'll do it in time. I will be setting up a publishing company. I will be setting up a software development company. I will be setting up a consultancy. All of these things, but literally I cannot afford to put food on the table. I'm not looking for sympathy, I'm looking for investment. How that investment gets to me, I have no idea. So, and I was looking recently at the news again, and the news from the Ukraine, the news from Russia, the news was of NATO. They're trying to work up to tell the same lie that Colin Powell told at the United Nations Security Council meeting prior to the Iraq war. They're trying to do the same thing, but they know this is a modern, sophisticated army. This will be a disaster, not just for Europe, not just for the world, but for the universe as a whole. Its favourite place could be bludgeoned into a nuclear winter. I don't want that. No, let's get a nice point to finish up with. Unending lines. My heart I bend it to your will, to be your servant now and all. Not to do as I am told, but to be so ever bold. Oh, my dear, you have me now. Upon your stage I do so bow. To thee I'm only yours forever, deep within a mind so clever. For all do think that I am keen. I love this woman sight unseen. But I would trust you with my life, and I would ask you to be my weapon of purest love. Sinné gur maithagat agus slán.